Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Okay, before I get started here, let me say that I know that results may vary. And also, I know people do different things with their everyday carry knives. For one thing, I'm one of those people who actually carries the same knife every day. I actually carry a couple different knives every day, but the knife that I carried for well over 3 or so years, almost every day, I mean 6 days or 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, was this knife. There were the occasional days where I would use a different knife or something of that nature, but for the most part, this knife was in my pocket every day. It was usually traveling along with a Spyderco Dragonfly, and but still, this knife did a good bulk of the cutting, especially when it came to heavier things to cut, such as carpeting, cardboard boxes, all sorts of things. And also, I use this knife for cutting fruits, vegetables, and meat because, well, it's got a longer blade. We're talking about the large toothpick with a 4-inch blade, 5-inch handle. This is in the saw cut bone from Rough Rider. When this knife came out, the large StoneWorx toothpick, I decided I would swap this knife out for this knife and see how well it held up, because a couple people asked or were curious of just how well these stones would hold up if they were actually being pocket carried and everything else. And by pocket carry, I assumed it would be the way I typically carry a knife in my pocket, which is I just take the knife and I slip it in a pocket. Now, for the most part, this knife has been carried in a pocket along with the Dragonfly, the two knives just bouncing around in the same pocket. This knife was also just being carried around with the Dragonfly loose in the pocket until basically I swapped pants. I'm wearing a different kind of pants now, and so now this knife is traveling along the same pocket as my iPhone. So it's running into something heavier and bulkier than the Dragonfly. The Dragonfly has been moved over into the pocket with my keys, simply because of the type of pants I'm wearing now. And because of that, I've put this knife into this cloth pouch. It's like a little felt pouch or velvet pouch. And so it's being carried like this in there. But to me, that is about the same as if this knife was being carried in a pocket all by itself. So it was really just a minimal amount of protection for the knife. If I do not have my phone with me, or if this is in a pocket by itself, then the pouch isn't there because I find the pouch annoying. And really, the pouch is here more to protect my phone than it is the knife. I just don't want the knife scratching my phone screen or cracking my phone screen. So it's giving it a limited amount of protection from the knife. So the pouch isn't really there to help with the knife at all. I have been carrying it for about 2 months, and this knife is the only knife I have been using in that time, with a few exceptions. Occasionally I'll need to use my Victorinox Explorer, but that's because I'm not going to use this knife as a screwdriver. It doesn't have a magnifying glass on it. There's no bottle opener on it, things like that. So when I need to use my my Victorinox Explorer, I use that. Otherwise, this is the knife I'm using. For the most part, I have not been using the Dragonfly at all. I have pulled it out at work on a couple occasions. I feel more comfortable doing that because, well, it just doesn't look as threatening with all the pretty colors on there. What I have found is it is holding up quite well. And what a lot of people were mostly concerned with is, will these stones come loose? I can tell you that I have dropped it a couple times, a distance of about 4 feet or less, onto a carpeted floor, none the worse to wear. I have also dropped it about 4 or 5 feet to a hardwood floor, and it is also doing fine. Um, those were actually just basic tests that I did to see if anything would pop loose or anything would crack, and nothing cracked, nothing popped loose. A couple of the drops to the carpeted floor were simply because it fell out of my pocket, or I was taking it out of my pocket and I dropped it. Uh, so there were those occasional drops that were unintentional. I have not accidentally washed it, so I don't know how well it'll hold up going through the washer and dryer cycle. But that is not something that I would consider a normal EDC use of a knife. For the most part, the normal EDC use for me is cutting up boxes, cutting paper, cutting fruits, vegetables, the occasional carpet piece that I have to cut, and a couple other heavier things that I have to cut, rope, things of that nature. And it's been handling that quite well. Rubber inner tubes and stuff like that too. So some thicker things to cut. The only complaint I would have, and it's not much of a complaint, it's probably what I need to do is I basically need to get a better edge on it. It's 440B, and the 440B is a little harder to sharpen than the 440A. Well, it's a slightly harder steel, so that's why. I'm able to get a much sharper edge on the 440A from Rough Rider, and that might be simply because I'm more used to it. Doing the same kind of sharpening with this doesn't get it quite as sharp as I get with the 440A. Again, a harder steel. Maybe I need to look at using a different stone and getting a better edge going on. It does cut. I felt that I was doing better cutting with this. Once I get a sharper edge on here, I will have to revisit that part of it. The other thing I've noticed is I really, really am annoyed by the half stop. I really don't care for it. This is the first time I've carried a knife with a half stop for 2 months, and it's really not what I like. I really just like the simple pull it all the way open, close it all the way down. I like this action much better. Again, personal preference and results may vary. I know a lot of people prefer that half stop. I don't find it particularly useful for me. Mostly what I'm doing is cutting. I don't have to worry about the blade slipping or anything else. I know how to use a slip joint. I've used a slip joint all my life. The half stop is meaningless to me. But otherwise, the knife has been handling quite well. And I've been very happy with it. Yeah, like I said, I don't feel that I have managed to get it as sharp as I can this one. But I think that has more to do with my headspace and timing than the blade itself. We will see. But as it's going right now, I'm very happy with it. And as you can tell, this is 2 months of carrying, a few drops, a few spills. It's still as good as it was when I first got it. The blade finish still looking very good. Still got the mirror polish going on. Everything about the knife is the same as it was when I first got it. It has not developed any kind of blade wobble or anything of that nature. Movement of the blade is the same as the first day I had it. It's still got that pull that's around a 5 or a 6. So if you're wondering if you can actually carry these knives, I would say yes. this has been, well, at least 2 months, maybe a little bit more, and none the worse to wear. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pious. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.